Good evening and welcome to this episode number 12 of the Sullen Art Podcast with myself, Simon. My co-hosts tonight are Iqbal, as ever.
Good evening.
And Christopher.
Hello.
And tonight we are very, 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 very lucky to be joined by Dewi and Lucy, who are... No, go right ahead, Dewi.
I was going to say, hello, everyone.
So guys, please introduce yourselves and the name of your band, please.
I'm Dewi.
And I'm Lucy.
And we're Little Folk. We're missing Alan. But yeah, so we're 2/3 of Little Folk joining you today.
So, also to sort of kick off, you guys started around what time? How many years ago did you start?
I would say about 3.5 years ago.
3.5 years ago.
To be precise.
So, it's also a bit of a family affair because you two are married.
We are?
Yeah, okay. And both your brothers were in the band at one time as well?
Yeah, my younger brother Mark used to play banjo in the band, but he's left about a year now, so it's just me, Lucy, and my older brother Alan who plays the double bass. I don't know why I signalled it.
Well, no, it's fine. I mean, you can sort of signal that you were playing double bass. So, how would you describe the sort of style of music for anybody who hasn't heard you guys?
I would say it was like Americana crossed with country with
A bit of bluegrass thrown in, I think.
Yeah, like a rootsy vibe, I would say, yeah.
So how did that start then? When you decided to form the band and that direction, how did that come about?
Yeah, me and my brother's always been in bands growing up.
Yeah.
But there was more like rocky stuff, a bit more, let's say, emo.
Okay.
And then my brother went to work on cruise ships doing sound. And so we kind of stopped after he left. So when he came back, well, before he came back, actually, we started just writing acoustic stuff, doing a couple of cover gigs, just get a bit of cash. And then we just started writing originals and it just snowballed from there then. So Alan didn't come in the band till about a year and a half ago, would you say?
Yeah.
Year and a half, 2 years ago. So we had a bloke, our friends called Niall, play bass. But then he dropped out and then Alan joined us in then when he came back off the boat.
I did the sound for you once at a gig, didn't I? I remember it was like one of your very first gigs. It was at Mozart's.
Yes.
There was a problem with was it the kick drum or the banjo? I can't remember. It was the banjo.
It was probably the crappy
It's
piezo
always
pickup.
the banjo. It was always the banjo.
It's a long time. It was about 2015, I think.
Yeah,
Probably.
probably.
Sounds about right.
That,
Yeah.
2015, that was in about May 2015. That was our first like full-on original gig where we... had written all our songs and we were ready to go. That was when we first really started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Americana, as you said, is a very, very big influence in the stylings and sort of sounds that you do. And you were talking before to Chris about, what was it, Hank Williams III? You both you guys, that's how we got you. Was it Hank Williams? Who was it? Which Hank Williams were you
All
both
of
into?
them.
All of them. Right. Well, help me out here.
No, I saw Little Folk play at the Fringe Festival launch. I saw them going on and I thought, let's see what's happening here. Listened to a few songs. I ended up staying for the whole set, thoroughly enjoyed it. And what I liked about, although what you say is that an Americana country feel to me, which it was, you also kind of had, it was almost like an uneasy kind of dark vibe about it, and I don't mean that in an outright. It was just the melodies. It was not dark, maybe more haunting.
Yeah.
Like when I talked to you before we started recording about the new song you've done.
Yeah.
There's more of like a haunting kind of vibe, more so with the vocals than the instruments. I think.
No, yeah, we do try and pride ourselves on our harmonies and stuff.
Yeah, we work on our harmonies quite a lot. We like to incorporate them into all of our songs because I think we sing quite well together because we're married. We've got like a good connection, and I think the harmonies just work. Time to practice, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think your vocals work well together. Yeah, I think they were in sync, and I think that led a big part to your sound.
Thanks. Yeah, I do find that our newer stuff is a bit more like harmonic and a bit concentrating more on the sound more than whereas our originals, well, not original stuff, our older stuff used to be a bit more upbeat, a bit more party style music, kind of like a
bit more ruckus.
yeah. But now mellowed out a bit now and trying to make it a bit more melodic.
Cool.
Because was it Rock Me Like a what's the song called?
Wagon wheel.
Wagon Wheel, yeah. Because you used to do a fantastic version of that. Is that still even in the set, or?
If we're asked, yeah.
Yeah, because
It's always good to have it in your back pocket.
Is that what you're inferring by the sort of more upbeat sort of country sort of style?
Yeah, we used to play quite a lot of Old Crow Medicine Show, and then they are quite like upbeat, ruckus band, as you said. But we can break out into that if needs be. So we kind of play every gig by ear, really. So we always got the upbeat stuff in our back pocket.
So the darkness he's sort of inferring to, sorry, I didn't want to use that word again.
Haunting.
Haunting. So you're sort of going down that sort of Graham Parsons, Flying Burrito Brothers sort of feel at the moment. Stuff like Towns Van Zandt, that sort of forlorn sort of thing.
And I think our newest stuff is, we have got a couple of faster ones on there, but like that base of our song is that, yeah.
I think I know a lot of people say it, but I think we've kind of found our sound now, and I think it's quite like a niche kind of sound.
Don't say we've been on a journey.
We've been on a journey.
You can say you've been on a journey, that's fine. You're more than
We've
welcome.
been on a musical journey, but now we've found our sound.
I mean, so what is there on the table in terms of releases? Obviously, we're going to plug you guys at the end of the show because we always tend to do that. You know, if you've got anything up and coming, and where can people find you? But how many releases have you guys managed to sort of put together so far?
We've released one EP and several singles, but we've put all the singles onto one CD now. So it's a CD of about 8-9 songs, something like that.
Are you happy with everything?
Yeah, really happy. We've previous stuff we've all recorded ourselves in our bedroom, so I'm quite pleased of how it turned out. But for our next release, we've gone with a producer, gone to a studio, like a proper studio, and
So that record you gave me is all recorded in your bedroom.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask about that is there's 2 songs on there. I think one's Eleanor, and there's one later on, and there's drums on it. Is that programmed or recorded drums?
Recorded drums. My younger brother Mark did them. Yeah. Eleanor was the first one we ever did.
Yeah. That's got drums in it.
That's got drums in it,
yeah.
and Big Bad Wolf has got drums in it as
That's
well. And Mark,
right, yeah.
Mark played all them in. He played like Eleanor on acoustic drums, but Big Bad Wolf he played in on his Roland electric kit.
Right, because the snare on that has a really kind of reverby kind of
bit more computerized.
50s snare sound. No, I wouldn't say
No.
computerized. I wouldn't say
No.
computerized, but it's got a 50 snare sound on it. So I was thinking it's like a really old snare.
Yeah, quite dry and quite,
or it's electric drums. One or the other. Yeah, dry.
Yeah.
It worked really well though. I liked it.
So we've got a vintage snare on our new song coming out next year. That was I think it was like a 70s Ludwig snare on it,
Nice.
and that sounded quite nice as well.
Who recorded the drums for this?
My younger brother again.
Again.
We still pulled him in for this.
Yeah,
so
cool.
He still
Yeah.
does stuff from now on. Again.
How are you going to do that live?
We kind of strip it back a bit live. We don't have like the drums are more like a rat-a-tat in the background. We still got the bass drum and the what did you play? Tambourine.
Tambourine,
That's the one.
yeah.
And the shaker.
Hang on a minute, you forgot what your wife plays in the band. I'm sorry, Lucy.
And so like we got lots of it there, just not the full kit because can't fit it in the car.
But I mean, if you're keeping in the spirit of what you guys do live, when you had bands and artists touring through, you know, post Dust Bowl and the whole country and blues and folk thing, they would have to sort of make do with, and when I say ramshackle, I'm not trying to sound condescending, you know, they just have to make do with what they got when they were there. And obviously then that ties into, you know, bringing out a washboard or like a demi-john to sort of like, you know, just making use of what's there.
Yeah.
So, you know, the simplicity within it. Is there any sort of crossover with, I'm trying to think of it. What's the genre? I'll come back to that. The genre will come back to my mind in a minute. So we got an album coming out very soon, or you're working on it?
Yeah, our EP. We've recorded everything. It's just in the mix now, let's say.
Yeah.
So starting to sound quite good now, yeah.
Yeah. And you've done a couple of things up in Cardiff because you're quite prolific on your feed because, you know, we're friends on Facebook, obviously. And you were at a Martin Expose quite recently as well, weren't you?
I can't remember what the pub was called now, but it was near PMT in Cardiff. Sorry to plug another music
That's
shop.
fine, it's fine. I buy from Guitar all the time myself. Yeah, it's okay, you plug away.
And they had an event there to try out, like they had guitars. So I played a couple of songs live and they streamed it live on their Martin Facebook page, which was quite cool.
So, without sort of getting too nerdy about it, but because we were chatting before we came on air, I remember when you bought your guitar. What is it? You've got a Gibson
J45, yeah.
J45. Now, with folk, country, blues, and probably with most genres, Chris isn't really sort of subject to this because Chris and I have had this chat before. You got the guitar out of the box and you were happy with it. You just played it as was, pretty much, wasn't it? With you, and I kind of get the feeling with me as well. We have this because we've talked about this before. We kind of bond with the instrument, and I remember you. Not christening's the wrong word, but we were
breaking it in.
We were where were we? You were doing an open mic night with Lucy.
Kinsale.
There we are, Kinsale 2015.
I remember that, yes.
Yeah. So you guys came down, and I was agog because like, dude, you've brought this guitar to this pub. This thing's beautiful, and it's nice to see that you've won it. So has that become quite a crucial part of your whole sound because it's
100%. Yeah. Because before it, I had a Taylor SG Mini. Is that what it's called? Something like that. And I just didn't get on with it, and I just wasn't enjoying playing it. It's nothing against Taylors. I like Taylors, but with this specific guitar, I wasn't getting on with. So, and I bought this and just changed, and I wrote like a whole set of songs, like within a month, really. Basically, it's just.
Do you think you'll ever have a Judas moment, in the words of Bob Dylan, where you'll probably pick up an electric, or have you?
I've gone the opposite way.
You've gone the opposite way.
I used to play electric, and now I play.
So you're going to turn up to sort of emo revival shows, and people who start screaming, "Why are you doing Dashboard Confessional songs?" Yeah. But anybody.
They're quite trendy now.
They come back in, haven't they? But there's a whole schism with the whole emo thing because there's the camp which is it's Fugazi and Promise Ring and American Football, and then it's like no, it's emo's My Chemical Romance, which it isn't. It's the other bands I mentioned. But what I was going to say is that you're a lot braver than I am when it comes to taking your acoustic out. Because we just said this before we came on air.
Yeah, it's got to be used, isn't it? I'm not too precious over it. It's like I find I have it out in the house. I got all my guitars out and just picking it up. I just enjoy playing, so I don't lock them away too much.
Do you have a backup at all that you go out with?
Yeah, I go out with a Faith Venus from it's called the Naked series. That's lasted me about 10 years now.
How close is that in sort of tone? Because we should sort of. You know.
Not very.
For without sort of again sounding condescending, anybody who's listening to the podcast, the beauty of acoustics and sometimes with electrics, some call it mojo, but more prominently with acoustics, they have a very unique fingerprint to themselves. They all have their own sound. So is that Faith quite close in sort of tonality?
I wouldn't. It's close enough for live, but with the input and everything, but as an acoustic instrument itself, like you said, the Gibson is much more of a rounded sound, nice mid-tones, and the Faith is a bit thin, I find, compared to that.
And are you on a quest at all at the moment to find another one? Because I'm guessing that you are. Right, you are. You're on the quest, okay.
Yeah, if anyone from Gibson's listening, I like hummingbirds.
Would it have to be a Gibson? Are you going to try and keep it all uniformed?
I just like the Gibsons.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Martins are nice. I like a nice Martin, but yeah, Gibsons are my go-to for acoustics. Yeah.
So when you to get back to the band, when you decided to form it, how did you end up choosing this genre? What was it about?
It's same with me and Lucy. We our parents. No, they weren't got the same parents.
That would be terrible.
Proper Americana.
Yeah.
Watch it now.
We've our parents. We grew up in houses listening to like Bob Dylan, the band, Neil Young, John Baez. Yeah.
So it was kind of like a natural progression, like to what we were listening to anyway, and also Mark bought a banjo, so we were like, "Oh, you've got a banjo! Like, we'd love to be in a band, and have you playing the banjo as well."
Yeah.
So.
And kind of like this, the old stuff, like I mentioned, then developed onto different artists because it's such a varied amount of genres, subgenres in country and Americana music. And it's a plethora of music to listen to out there.
What ones do you pull inspiration from?
The band mostly is my
Yeah.
favorite band of all time.
Okay.
More modern stuff. We like to. I'm not sure if people have heard of Mipso. They're really good. They recently done a tour.
Stray Birds,
the Stray
they were
Birds.
really good.
Yeah. Nothing like. We don't really.
Tyler Childers.
Tyler
who
Childers
like
as
at the
well.
moment,
Yeah.
I haven't heard him.
Check him out. He's good.
Yeah.
Band of Horses.
Band of Horses. Yeah, we saw them in Nashville.
I would have killed to see Band. Huge fan of the first two albums, but not saying that the others aren't any good. But that's one of my favourite songs. Great Salt Lake and Funeral, absolutely incredible.
We saw them on a riverboat in Nashville. A couple
Were
years
they
ago.
good? Did they do it?
They were amazing.
They're
yeah.
amazing. I
Yeah.
imagine they were. So there's lots of this crossover that's come as an influence from what your parents sort of played to you.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you mentioned Old Shaky there as well, Neil Young. So you're blessed. You had Neil Young and Bob Dylan at the same time.
Yeah.
So I mean, do you have any sort of? Are there any particular standout moments from those two that sort of like, right, that's it. That was that moment that clicked you into position. Was there an album? Or
It was
tour
obviously the
track?
Harvest album, Martin Neil Young. Even the simplicity of the artwork itself, and like we still got that record in the house.
Yeah, it's up on our wall.
Yeah, it's up on our wall.
Well, the cover.
And I got Bob Dylan. He was always on in the background in the house, and we all had CDs and tapes back then in the car. I remember going on holidays through France, and it was Bob Dylan tape and a Tracy Chapman tape, and they would just play back to back.
Because it's when you have artists like that, it's always very interesting to speak to other people who are into them as well, to see at what point they come into those artists as well. Because for me, it's completely sort of opposite. I mean, I really love Dylan, Blood on the Tracks, and so forth. You know, what you were saying about the Judas comment,
Yeah.
you know, so which is relevant to that statement. And also for me, well, I mean, my favourite Neil Young album is Tonight's the Night, because that's the first introduction of Niels Lofgren, who's like a huge fan of Niels' sort of style and playing. But it's really curious because you can really pick a mix with artists with a huge back catalogue like that. You can just dip in and, you know, really just sort of swim about and
Definitely.
get something completely
I
different.
find that artists don't get that nowadays. Back then, they were allowed to make album after album. If one flopped, they make another.
Which brings me back to my first sort of question in this is, are you going to go back to electric? Because you can't just stay acoustic.
No,
You have to bring something
But
in.
we have got electric elements within the recordings, like nice little licks, just in the back end and stuff like that. So there's always an option to do it. If we ever had a big massive release show, we would get a full band involved with that.
How much experimentation goes on when you record and write? And
This last fall, there's quite a lot.
Yeah.
Well, previously it was as well. We had time, because we were doing it ourselves, we weren't restrained by time
Of course,
or studio time, so we just did what we felt like doing. And if we didn't like it, chuck it. And I found with this new one, we had a lot of experimentation as well. We had different drums for different drum sounds. We had different guitars. We had a pedal steel player involved. Bit of everything, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we experimented a lot with harmonies.
Yeah, we did so many harmonies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
If they don't work, you just get rid.
he had Dewi trying to do different things to make the harmonies sound a bit different, and he had him lying on the floor singing harmonies.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
We didn't use it.
No, we didn't use that one.
Not wanting to sort of, I'm trying to be, I don't want to take over the conversation here because I have a habit of doing that, especially when it comes to music. So Iqbal, tell me if I am and I'll stop.
Not at all, mate. Not at all.
I would like to ask you, did you get hold of Springsteen's Western Stars and what did you think of it? Because that was a real sort of return to form to this sort of Americana thing. Springsteen, I felt, I don't know, I'm going out on a limb here. I mean, do you like the Boss at all? And shit
Yeah,
forward?
yeah. I've heard I haven't heard the album in full, but I've heard a couple of things on the radio and such like that. And
Well, what I was really sort of fascinated by with that, without extrapolating too much into it, there's sort of like a little grouping of albums within his career of the solo stuff which isn't involved with the East Street Band. Probably the first and most important one for that is Nebraska for me, which is very bleak. He recorded that on a home, I think it was a 4-track, it was a TIAC 4-track. Anyway, there's that Stories into Legend. If you're listening to podcasts, go and have a little read on that album. It's fantastic. Then there's Devils and Dust. Now, finally, sort of, I wouldn't say in the autumn years is a bit. I don't want to say autumn years for Springsteen. I hope he goes on till infinity. But he's released this album called Western Stars, and it was It's quite close. I'm not saying he's copied you. I'm saying that
I would, and I'm going to see his lies about it.
But there was a nice sort of through line. I was thinking about it on the way here, comparatively to what you're doing, sort of this sort of narrative with the story sort of thing of it. And it's nice to sort of see that sort of folk, alt country Americana sort of thing come back. It's a word I've used on the podcast quite a bit, wholesome, but there is sort of like this quite, you know, and I don't want to say wholesome and make it sound twee, but there's a nice structure to it. It's not just throwing at the wall and hoping it sticks sort of thing.
Yeah, I found that's always been the same with, I think, with the boss is he's always had a bit of a story, isn't he? He's always he doesn't write a song for writing a song's sake. There's always something behind. There's always substance.
Do you inhibit other characters when you write?
I think so, 'cause my life's not interesting enough to write about. So I do like we've got this one song, that new one we've written. It's called The Oregon Trail. A lot of people think it's
not after the computer game, surely.
No, I was going to say a lot of people think it is about the computer game, but it's about the actual.
I've never heard of the computer game, The Oregon Trail.
It's very famous.
So to me, your song would be an original.
Yeah, it's an old trail they actually used to take up Northern America, taking like felts and stuff like that. Yeah. I did a lot of research on that, just to make sure if people are listening to it, that they don't go, well, he's making that up, or
no.
Yeah, so I did a lot of research and found like the tracks, the trails, the names of everything, just so the song has a bit more authenticity to it,
gravitas.
Yeah. So I always try and think of a story and not just think about feelings and stuff. Like, it's got feelings in it, but I try and write about something.
Yeah, I find a lot of our songs, if you wrote them down, they could be little like short stories, I think. Like they've got a nice narrative to them.
Well, does that ever happen to you when you're watching, say, another piece of... Well, okay, I'll have to say something as well. Inhibit is completely different than inhabit. I'll just point that out because somebody's going to type in the comment section. He doesn't know how to speak English or understand words. But do you ever find that? Because Westerns are one of my favourite genre of films. I've had this discussion with Iqbal, and when you said about these small sort of stories, the first thing that jumped into my head was the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, which is the most recent Coen Brothers movie. Yeah, fantastic, great movie. Do you draw upon, because Americana as a genre, it's not just the case you've got the greats such as Twain, Steinbeck, so on and so forth, are the only two that can jump into the first top of my head, or Hemingway, in terms of American literature and American art and so on so forth. You've also got the rich tapestry of the Dust Bowl, people like Guthrie and Pete Seeger and all this, which I felt like there was some Seeger sort of creeping into your stuff, which is great. I love Pete Seeger. Is it when you with the Americana thing, you've got such a banquet to sort of choose from. I mean, do you get inspired from films or anything like that at all?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because we like watching a lot of Western films as well, and films in general. And yeah, that Buster Scruggs film was really good. I really enjoyed that. And there was one story which that developed into that Oregon Trail song, is the story of the travel. They were traveling across, weren't they? And they. Spoilers, because but it's.
But
that triggered something in my head, and I thought, that'd be a good thing to write about.
That was the hardest of all of those stories for me to watch. That was heartbreaking. It really that was, I could have quite happily watched that as a whole self-contained film. But on a happier note, who's your man? Tom Waits's section as the panhandler.
Yes,
that was brilliant. That was one of my favourite, which I mentioned on Natalie's podcast, which was one of my favourite sort of scenes in the film.
One of my favourite singers are in that film as well, Willie Watson.
Was Willie Watson the guy with the
gunslinger?
The gunslinger who comes to Okay, I didn't know that. I did not know that.
He used to play guitar and sing in All Crow Medicine Show as well, and he's recently done a tour of the UK. But yeah, he's one of my favourites, and he got a couple of folk albums out. He's got like great folk songs, and people should check that out as well.
just something that kind of triggered off me there. Do you ever get any criticism for writing about sort of American themes or American folklore? Because there's one reason I asked that was because one of your songs, I think it's Music City.
Yes.
It felt like a bit of a sort of rebuttal to kind of begin with. I don't know if I got that completely off the wall, but is there criticism? Or?
Yeah, it was kind of like, when we first started, people were like, oh, why are these Welsh guys singing about America? Or like,
they made fun of my cowboy boots.
Yeah.
I
know.
I own cowboy boots. So
we heard like little slight comments and whatever like that. So we thought, we'll write a song about it.
Yeah.
Right. So I was fairly on the mark.
You are on the mark with that one.
Right.
Yeah,
okay. So how long ago did you write that? Then?
That was one of the first ones we did.
It was the first one. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just wanted to get off your chest, and
Basically from the start. Yeah.
When I
just
first
get out
heard
there.
it, I picked it up and I listened to it. I was in my living room with all my music, listening to it off the disc you gave me, and lyrically I picked it up as a big kind of middle finger to what you just alluded to. Really, that's exactly what I got from it as well.
Well, curiously enough, one of Iqbal's favourite bands, CCR, the drawl that John Fogerty was made famous for putting on, he's from California, he's nowhere from Louisiana, Kentucky or anywhere like that, so, and he sort of overemphasized, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying he sort of really overemphasized sort of his accent and played with it. But it is a bit of a misnomer to sort of criticize the influence of American culture or McDonaldization, as some people would say, of the world, because I'm sat here in a trucker's hat with a plaid shirt on with America. But you know what? I think it's worth talking about because I mean, I've written a poem called Frontier Folk, and that's, I mean, I'm heavily influenced by that kind of period, late 19th century sort of period, and that stuff does weave into my stuff. But I like the fact that you kind of, gripped that and just sort of put it out there as an actual song.
Yeah, we just thought we're gonna do this. It's like we're not. Like the first line of the chorus is, please don't get us wrong, we're proud of the place we're born. Yeah. And it's like, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to do this kind of music that we love.
Yeah, I think that's what I picked up on that particular song as well, that although the opening part of that was about making some sort of statement and sort of reflecting on it, but then halfway through, I could sense that you were talking about Swansea, the place that you're from, and what's kind of real to you as well. So I really liked that. I think it was quite a sort of bold way of sort of dealing with it.
I thought I'd get it straight off the bat, no messing.
And that's the opening track, isn't it? To that CD?
It is, yes.
Isn't it? Yeah.
No, I can't remember now.
I think it is.
I think it is.
In defense of you, the transatlantic trade-off, which is, I don't even know if that's a term, I think I've just invented it. The Welsh cultural side and influence in America is ever present. I'm sure you've probably picked up on it through your research, through the whole frontier sort of things. You had a lot of people leaving the UK of Irish, Welsh, Scottish, and obviously English descent. And obviously there's always that rumour that Jack Daniels was from Carmarthen, and stuff like that. In some ways you could argue it's you're probably quite entitled, like second cousin removed to.
Well, it is, because in the American Civil War, the biggest of all the soldiers there, the biggest population from an individual country that went out there were Welsh. That's why, especially in the south, you got a lot of Williams,
Evans and Joneses.
The Welsh were huge in the American Civil War.
But then that's a very difficult question that we have to follow up here. Is the small nation of Wales, with the current the way America carries on, have we got to sort of talk to them very quietly, like a benevolent aunt or grandmother?
I think we've been trying. Everyone's been trying that, haven't they?
Yeah, but we haven't. They've not been listening to us, the mighty Welsh.
Maybe we could sing to them.
We could do.
That's the only way.
Do you guys ever have any aspirations to get over to stateside, or have you done that yet?
We went to Nashville a couple of years ago.
Did you get to play?
Played a bit. We recorded in the Ryman, which was quite cool.
Cool.
Nice.
And next year we're going. My brother's getting married out in Canada. So we're going over for that, and then we're going to travel down the West Coast. We're going to hopefully book some gigs on the way then and record some videos, like live videos.
Yeah,
We're going to
record
Joshua Tree. We're going to do one there.
Nice.
Yeah.
take the guitar.
That's a long
cowboy
road.
boots.
That's a
No,
long
no,
way
no,
from
no,
Canada.
no.
Buckle up.
No, don't let him take the guitar. You can't. You know what will happen in baggage and handling if you took that
I
guitar.
know.
Get something over there.
I'd probably rent some in.
Yeah, get something over there, or something that you don't mind getting
Yeah.
damaged, because that's
I've had friends that
Yeah.
electric Gibson's neck snapped, and they're in a flight case as well. So
yeah. It's you look at
That's
the
why you
news of
should
that.
always buy an extra seat for the guitar.
That's what Bonamassa does. That's
That's
what
what
Eric
loads of
Clapton
people do.
Yeah, just literally goes up with 2 tickets.
Expensive trip, mate.
yeah,
But if you Bonamassa, you can
Well,
afford
no,
to
it's
do
not.
it,
Then
yeah.
it's not
No.
expensive at all, is it?
But that is horrific, because there is footage online of different American airlines and different airlines around the world, and they literally do not care. They actually actively seek to
seek and destroy.
Seek and destroy. I did think that. Yeah, Metallica reference, fantastic. But yeah, it's that would be quite interesting to see how you guys sort of do in America. I mean, if you're going to go over there, it's quite nice, you know.
We've been played quite a lot over there.
Yeah, we've been lucky enough to, we were played on East Nashville Radio. We've been played on quite a few Nashville radio stations. It's gone down quite well.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of, like you said, big Welsh communities over in America, and they've got podcasts and stuff like this, and we've been playing
Yeah.
on those, and it's a good way of keeping in that way as well.
Oh, that's wicked.
Well, here's an interesting thing to come in with then. Is there any reference to Dylan Thomas at all in any shape, form or way? Because obviously that's one of the UK.
And be honest.
Be honest, if there isn't, that's
There's
fine.
not, unfortunately, but
There you go.
it's something I could do in the future, I'm
No,
sure.
no. It was just interesting to see if there was some sort of segue that could be brought in. But that's about.
We'll have to weave it in later.
Yeah, that's our fault.
We'll
That's our
we'll
quote.
find a route in.
We've done our quote.
Good effort, though.
We've done
Good
our
effort on
quota.
it.
We've done our heresy quota for the evening of Dylan Thomas references. Try and keep it loosely
So,
based.
what's the evolution of a little folk song then? How did it become an end?
Well, we thought this might be a question. Usually I come up with the idea first of the song.
Conceptual.
Concept first, yeah, sorry. And then like a phrasing, like a line might come to me, and then I find that the music really comes second to
Really?
me than
Interesting.
to the lyrics, yeah.
Oh.
I find like the lyrics more important than...
Well,
the
the
music's
word-
more important as well.
I think the
Yeah.
word is the most important, isn't it, gents?
And only if you can't play anything.
Yeah, which I can't. As
I'm the
we've
other way
established
around.
many times.
Because I write the lyrics for my band, but it's like second.
Yeah,
We get the music and then I'll put to that.
yeah. But do you have a concept then afterwards, or a feeling?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just also feeling
Yeah.
what sounds right. Sometimes it's not so much. I used to go in with a concept, but now I'm not. I'm done with the initial concept.
Yeah.
But then I could write 1 or 2 lines and then there's a concept forming.
Yeah.
I used to do what you did in terms of approaching lyrics.
Yeah.
Think of a concept, but not so much now.
It gets harder when you
It gets hard
yeah.
and exhaust stuff, yeah. But
Yeah.
no, I mean, I don't rule that out happening again. But the last few lyrics I've written, there's been no real concept in terms of initial
Yeah.
concept, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's hundreds of ways to write a song.
Yeah.
It's quite mad, isn't
So
it?
when you write and you've got the guitar down and you even got a loose lyrics.
Yeah.
When you record, can you hear things? Like I can hear a banjo here, I can hear a slide there.
Oh,
or,
yeah, and I just
yeah.
form it and build it in my head. And
Cool.
when I'm writing is I've got the guitar, I've got the notebook there. I'm still got like the banjo, the mandolin, because I'm not proficient in the banjo, but I can play it,
Yeah.
and the mandolin.
Yeah.
So I can kind of get the gist of the whole song before taking it to the rest of the band to pad it out. Then really,
So you both do the lyrics, or is it just you, or do you bounce ideas off each other? Or?
It's mainly Dewi. I do help.
Grammar. She's a grammar police.
I am
Phrasing.
grammar police, phrasing. But I mean, it's been, like you said, with different songs, it's different. Like sometimes you'll be playing something, and I'll go, "Oh, this will sound good here," and then like the harmonies and stuff I come up with, and
I can't sing a harmony, save my life.
Dewi can't do a harmony. He's great, but he can't do a harmony. But yeah, Dewi usually sits there playing along and singing and recording himself as well, so he can hear back what he's been doing. And yeah, I'll chime in and say, "Oh, this would sound good." Or
So is this like a daily thing that you jam in your house, or do you just? I mean,
Yeah, I always got my guitar on me. It's
Yeah.
to an annoyance.
When you're trying to watch the telly sometimes and he's just playing anything,
Yeah.
really.
Practice makes perfect.
Practice makes
yeah,
perfect,
yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to argue with that.
Do you feel that you've sort of settled on your style now? And obviously the kind of Americana, the country pop sort of style, because my understanding is that as a band, you've kind of developed over a number of years. I think I heard an interview that you gave someplace about rock and then indie progression, and then sort of come into the Americana sort of thing.
100%. I think we've settled. Never say never to change it or anything like that, but see where it takes you. But yeah, we have developed. It's always been there in the background, but not initially, but because I joined the band as an outsider to start with, so and it was a bit heavier and a bit everything. But then as I started to write the songs, it got a bit more folky, a bit more country, a bit more cleaner.
Even when we were like an indie band, we were a band called Crying Wolf Club before, there was elements of kind of rootsy stuff there with some of the songs, some of the stories in the songs.
So you're almost like Wilco in a way. Then it's like you were like a prototype for the for what you are now. Then
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
Because kind of died a death, like when my brother left to work on the ships. So then I had time to develop and like a new sound, new songs, and bounce from there. Then
Yeah, because we had some ideas when we were in this previous band that we were writing, but we didn't kind of get to put out there. And they've kind of...
stuck around.
Yeah, they've kind of stuck around, and we've ended up using, some of the lyrics or some of the bits of music in our new stuff now. So yeah, there was always that kind of influence there, even when we were doing indie stuff, yeah.
I quite like this sort of evolution of your art, though. I mean, because I sort of get that as a writer, that you kind of go through these periods, don't you, where things are making sense kind of artistically for that period of time, and then it sort of switches up again, doesn't it? It changes and morphs and whatnot. And I think over a period of time, you sort of mature into what your voice is, what your sound is. But it sounds like that's exactly where you're at. You're very comfortable with what you're doing at the minute.
I would say so, yeah, and I'm happy doing it, I'm happy to continue doing it. Like I keep writing the songs quite often, really, so that's always good. If creative juices are flowing, I think that's always good.
So when you say you write them, you're writing a lot of songs, are you fairly prolific then at the moment, or?
Yeah, not all of them make it, or like it is I find if you're starting to write a song and you think, this is not going great, I always finish it, so it's out of the way. I never try and work on it just to make it work, because if it's not going to work, it's not going to work. So I just finish it, move on. Yeah. I find that with.
You and I've had this discussion before. There's loads of songs that I've... Oh, was that the guitar then?
No, Lucy's hungry.
Oh, you're hungry? I'm sure I heard... She was like, hang on, that sounds like an A. But Iqbal and I've had this discussion before. There's been loads of songs that I've just got halfway through and just sort of canned. There's loads of songs I've written I've just left.
So why was that, though? I mean, what was it that was happening? Because I'm quite intrigued by that. So you're saying you get to a certain point... and then it's just like, right, well, that's just not going to happen. It's just not working then, is it? The pieces aren't coming together, yeah.
It's usually the phone goes, pub? Yeah, sure, no problem. No. It's, I don't know, for me, but this is the fascinating thing. You've got a group of creative people all around the table with different sort of genres and different sort of approaches to music. And with me, there's a quiet sort of dissatisfaction with everything. Nothing ever feels quite good enough. So this is probably why there was a bit of displacement when you and I were talking about the Rusty Nuts, because I'm never really confident with what I've brought. I was thinking about this last night. I think that would be the death of any sort of artist, musician, painter, filmmaker if they were 110% content, and all the amount of sort of support in the world from peers or family or loved ones doesn't quite cut. There's always that streak of can do better. So and I don't know. I think maybe I've got it slightly off balance. Where it's too much. I can do better. I know I can do better. It's always like chasing that one.
I think that's
song.
probably the same by the sounds of it with most art, isn't it? Most artists generally. But I sort of wonder about you guys, like, you know, being married and having that sort of closeness within the band. Yeah. I mean, do you find that helps you kind of creatively sort of bring things together or be a bit more open about what's working, what's not working?
I think so, because if I'm doing something and I'm like, Lucy will go, oh, that needs changing. That's not
just brutal honesty.
Brutal honesty is the best.
Without trying to sort of make it scandalous, has it ever got to a point where you've said no and you've said yes to a song and it's sort of the friction's been there? It's like, no, this is. Have you ever got to that point?
Not but for a song, maybe a lyric or two, but never a song.
No, never a full song. I think like sometimes I've been like, oh, I don't really think that's working, and then Dewi goes in a strop
and then rework it.
And he does rework it, but
yeah. Well, because with anything anyone makes, it's always precious, isn't it? And it is hard when someone says, "Oh, that doesn't work," but you just got to take it on the chin because it's a fresh set of years. And like I said, no one's ever really happy, 100% with what they've done. There's always like what ifs.
I mean, to be honest, I used to hate it when people would turn around and sort of people close to me turn around saying, that's not the best poem you've written, or that's not a great thing.
It hurts, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But I think you sort of get to a point where it starts mattering less, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of more important to produce, like the end product has got to be, you know, the highest possible quality that it can be. And then you start taking that feedback on the chin a little bit.
To defend you a little bit, I mean, the editing process and the methodology within editing anything or any sort of work of merit, there's a sort of, you do owe a duty of care. We've mentioned it before, you know, you do owe a duty of care to that person. I'm not saying sort of with kid gloves and go, oh, yes, everything you've made is a rainbow and it's fantastic. But I mean, there's obviously it's the old adage, which we all probably learnt in school and we're told about in school. There's constructive criticism and then there's thank you. Criticism which can be sort of foisted upon someone. You know, we've discussed this before. I mean, it's sometimes so anybody who edits or anything like that, I think there's a lot of responsibility there. I mean, obviously, in the band, if either of you two are editing something, do you ever get that twinge? It's like, you know, you are responsible, almost like sort of nurturing part of that person's ego, part of that person's experience, or that storytelling. Yeah. I think to sort of just go in with a sledgehammer to crack a walnut's a very, because I've been in that situation. I mean, you can be brutal, and that's all fine, and it has its place, but I don't think it bodes healthy for any sort of creative discipline to just be so bloody minded, as it were.
No, I think you gotta go like. It's a bit cheesy, but like a compliment sandwich. You gotta, you gotta say, "Oh, I like that, but I would change that." But it is good. Like you have got to stroke there. You go and.
I think what you've got to remember as well is everybody's got different tastes and different opinions, and you might be doing something which you think is great, and you know somebody says, "Oh, actually, that's not that great," but. That's just that person's opinion as well. It could be something really special. So
it's all objective, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all objective. Yeah.
But I mean, I've never met a dynamic before where you've got two people who are primary singer-songwriters in the band, and are married, you know, and cohabiting together as well. I mean, it sounds like it's a real like
close knit.
Really close knit. I mean. There was something that popped into my head, but I didn't want to say it out of pure politeness and whatnot. But I mean, how long have you two guys been together?
We've been together
10 years.
10 years, married.
Right.
5.
Okay. So that's fantastic, right? So if you write a love song, it's obviously
I've never written a love song.
You never. Okay, so that's fine. That's off the table. But if you were, obviously Lucy would know it's the right.
Yeah.
You know, it wouldn't be. The only reason I'm saying that is because, as an awful aside, I finally decided to get round to watching the Danny Boyle Yesterday film, which is, in my opinion, rife wide rife with plot holes.
Which film was that?
Right, so, okay, just a quick side sort of thing. I know we're going tangential, and some people don't like it when we go tangential, but, you know. What I was going to say is the whole film is basically this guy wakes up, there's a worldwide blackout, and during the middle of this worldwide blackout, he gets hit by a bus, he wakes up, and he's the only one who remembers the Beatles songs. Now, the film's great.
Isn't it called Yesterday?
Yesterday,
right.
The film's great. This massive plot holes, which I'll come to now. The acting's fantastic and the cast are brilliant, okay? But it's this whole thing about the Beatles are erased. It's like, yeah, so you don't have that, but it's not you don't have this band, that band. You don't have pretty much everything. Every entire concept of popular culture has changed. But there's a scene in it with the girl and the guy and the love interest, and there's this thing, who did you write that song about? And it's like, that's what sort of jumped into my mind. It's that would be the only sort of awkward thing. If you guys had been together for 2 years or a year and you bring all these sort of songs there, who's that about?
Or something like that.
I wrote this.
Eleanor.
You know what I mean? But that is quite a thing though of country music, is that sort of that thing, So
I haven't got many heartbreak songs. We did have a heartbreak song, but with that, it's nothing from anything personal.
You don't really strike me as a heartbreak kind of guy. No. You're far too
dead inside.
No, that's fine. But that's something that we've all discussed at this table. It's like one of the things that's infuriating, that there was a proliferation when 10 years back, where it was every single singer-songwriter was just songs about girls that wouldn't look at them twice, or you know what I mean. It's
get over it,
which is a bit sad and tragic. But it's nice to know that that's not sort of the.
That's all my teenagers.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't take any of that kind of thing from when I listened to your album, and I saw you. I didn't take any kind of. I certainly got like a storytelling, maybe like a traveling story within your lyrics. I didn't get any kind of heartbreak or any kind of thing like that.
I don't think I've ever written a heartbreak song or a love song. The only one we've written was Keep on Breaking Hearts, and Lucy sung that one and helped half and half wrote it, that one, and that we don't really do that one anymore, do we?
No. It was like an upbeat one. It wasn't a sad.
It wasn't a sad one. It was like man left woman.
Yeah.
Pissed off basically.
It was a typical country song. It was.
Yeah. But you don't play because you don't feel natural anymore, or have you moved on from it?
Just moved on. I've just got too many songs to play.
Right, tell me
well,
about
how
it,
many have you got then? If you don't ask.
Originals we've probably got nearing 20 now, I would say. So it's not a huge amount, but.
So what have you done for this new one? It's 4 you told me, was it?
Yeah, 4. Okay. But we still got a boatload that we haven't recorded. And
where did you record it?
This new one.
Yeah.
It's with this guy called Adam. He works at the Bridgend College, and he's the head of music tech at Bridgend College.
Okay.
And
you recorded it up there, did you, in Bridgend College?
Yeah, and he emailed us one day, say, I'd like to record you. So,
he's worked with a couple of bands from Swansea, the Zinfandels,
Zervis and Pepper.
Zervis and Pepper, yeah.
So quite good back catalogue he's got there. So
yeah.
What was the room like? I mean, how did he? Because you guys are a band that I'd imagine that yes, you could do some overdubs with a lap steel, but played out live is where your strength is to capture that sort of.
We did have that conversation. It's like, how do we want to record it like live, or do we want to record it track by track? We went track by track in the end. Yeah,
you're not very cut and paste though. I mean, like, I couldn't imagine going, oh yeah, don't worry, we'll fix that in post. I imagine that it would lose a lot of the authenticity of what you were trying to achieve.
Yeah, 100%. We'd have to get it perfect or near perfect all the way through. Not in one take, but like you can always stop and start, but like we never went, I'll take that bit from the second verse for the first verse or anything like that.
Well, I had this conversation with someone who's recording us quite recently because we were going through the song, and obviously Red Light Fever, you know what that is, and for the uninitiated, it's as you can be as well versed and practiced, but as soon as you go in and someone press records and the red light's there, you all go falls to bits. And I was working on a song with the Rusty Nuts, and the guy I was working with at the time, Lee, said, well, if the worst case scenario you can cut and paste, and this is no disrespect to Lee, I just sort of put my foot down and said, absolutely not. I want it to, you won't be able to hear it, and your average person go, I don't know, it's fine. But for me, I would feel like I wanted to play that because I know that the second or third time in the chorus comes up, I'm going to have a different attack on it. I'm going to be slightly tighter. It's going to be pulled back a little bit or this and that. I want that part of the creative process to be me, not a cut and paste. And that's something I rally against more than anything else probably in music.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure that the recordings actually sounded like us. Like when we play, we've got like an energy that we bring to it that I think we really wanted in the recordings.
Yeah.
We didn't want it too overproduced or polished.
Yeah.
You've hit an amazing point there, which is something I forgot, which completely eluded me. It's what is the record if it is not the attempt of the band to put themselves in the living room of their fans or whatever, as clear as representation or as close as representation as they are live. So you have it on access and on tap as whenever you want to, and then by adding all these other layers of post-production and so on and so forth, you are distancing yourself from the final project, in my opinion. It would be akin to say, like, Iqbal, if, we were writing a book that I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that, it would be like an extra filter added on top. Because surely that's the whole purpose of the record, is to have the ability to listen to that band whenever, however you want, as close to as they are live.
Yeah. I agree completely. Yeah, whenever you want to be able to recreate, I think, what you've done in studio live, and with everything put on top, all the spark and everything. If you can't do it live, I don't see the point.
100% agree.
It's just there. Just I don't know, just there.
There's a whole myriad of bands that came up in the early sort of 2000s. That were guilty of that, where they would be so overproduced in the studio and have guessed this, that, and the other, and it was all substance over actual, all style over actual substance. Sorry, and then when it came to actually live, they were just like, your reviews you would see in Kerrang. Yeah. It was like one side. What is this joke?
Yeah.
What I like about that, though, sorry, mate,
no, go for it.
is that musically we're worlds apart. My band, Minds, and Little Folk, but aesthetically we're not. From what you just said, it was almost like us in the studio.
Yeah.
We never go to, we have layers, but
not to the extent of hundreds. And
no, yeah, we've got effects and we've got synths and samples, but we can recreate it all live because we have a synth player and a sampler. And I completely agree with you. It's and back to your point, Lucy, about that energy live. It feels almost counterfeit if you do it in the studio.
Like fraud, isn't it? Basically,
Yeah.
you say, we can give you this.
And it's really refreshing to totally different genres, despite the influence of a country, Americana, and me and what I bring to my band. But genre-wise, it was so really refreshing to hear that someone on a different spectrum approaches it the same way.
Yeah.
It was really nice to hear that.
You want to be more Neil Young than Imagine Dragons, which I totally 110% salute. So, as is customary in all of our podcasts, and continuities are very important in terms of audio quality output and what we're drinking this evening, I'd like to address the elephant in the room. Iqbal and Chris, what are you imbibing tonight?
Well, as usual, it is a Gower Brewery special Gower Gold, mate. Probably my favourite beer, actually. This is my It's my go-to beer, mate. It's my go-to beer. This is always a 10 out of 10.
I've gone for the Thomas Watkin IPA, which is a regular here, 4.8%. Lovely.
I too.
But one of my other favourite beers is also on the table tonight, but Dewi is drinking it.
I've gone for the classic Old Jamaica ginger beer, regular.
Love it.
Lucy, what are you on?
Water.
Love it.
I've decided also to stick with Gower Gold because I don't think whiskey and I are the best of friends.
Gower
on this
Gold
podcast.
was one of my favourite, but it's now second in their Gower Brewery line.
What's your favourite?
Shipwreck.
Shipwreck.
Oh,
what is Shipwreck? Is it a stout?
No. It's a lighter golden ale. It's more of a paler ale than Gower Gold, but it's I prefer the taste.
And we should also mention that the Birthplace, was it this week, Iqbal, or this month?
This week.
So what did it win?
It won small
Kerrang award.
Kerrang, yeah, it wasn't a Kerrang award. Unfortunately, perhaps next year when you guys are playing it. I think it was the Small Tourist Attraction Award in Swansea.
Who is that for? Was it what was the award ceremony for? Do we remember which?
Swansea Bay Tourism Awards.
Swansea Bay Tourism Awards. So hats off to Jeff there. Thank you very much.
Superb, mate. Superb.
Superb, and it's nice to see that it's got the recognition it deserved. There was pictures up on Jeff Hayden's Facebook feed this week with Alan Gibbard. I can't remember the other lady who was with him.
I think she's a volunteer here. I can't remember her name actually. Slightly shameful, but I've only met her once. But yeah.
So to quote Zeppelin in a roundabout way, hats off to Jeff. I suppose hats off to Roy. So yeah, it's interesting to me that you guys have come through and you're so nice. And that's not to sound sort of trite. It's just not. It's nice to be able to talk to musicians who haven't got a chip on their shoulder. So
thanks.
Thanks. Yeah. That's
I don't
nice
think we are
compliment.
like standard musicians. We're like quite laid back and we get on with everyone. It's like we're not trying to conform with anything, any cliques or anything like that. So we.
Are you both natives of Swansea then?
Not quite. No.
I'm from Britton Ferry.
I was born up Neath Valley in Glenheath, moved to Bridgend, back to Swansea. So bounced around a bit.
So where do you guys live now? Are you in the town or?
Yeah, we live up near Warnwen.
Yeah, so kind of right in the centre.
Right in the centre, really.
The home of my father, Wayne Wen.
Oh.
He's very proud of you. He will be.
So you were saying earlier that you guys you dabbled with like an emo band. It was an indie band as well. Have you seen much of a change in the past 10 years? Because I'm guessing it's like 10 years. So you guys, if not longer, being on the scene.
Probably about 15 years.
15 years,
yeah. In the music scene, you mean? Yeah. Yeah, because when I was in bands before, it was like very much the Bridgend music scene, and we had Funeral for a Friend, Blackout, Kids in Glass Houses. So, and it was rife with bands then, and I found that was a very good time for that scene of music. I find that it's kind of died down a bit now, but Funeral for a Friend did a not a comeback gig, but like a gig in Cardiff the other week, and they were sold out for 2 nights. So people are still interested in it, but it has moved along.
Well, I was sort of just going to trigger on a point that when I got back from Bristol, I remember every single band in Swansea, and this is excluding you from the conversation. Sort of like the trend at that time was to be a ska band, and it was literally, it was very hard to deal with. In my
part anyway.
I know. Excuse me, I had a little bit of a windy pop. I know you did, I know you didn't, Chris, but it was. Is there? Because I'm not exact. I mean, the band I do is a comedy sort of referencing band. Is the Rusty Nuts, and you guys completely other end of the scale, and Chris is completely other end of the scale as well. How many ends are in the scale? But it is interesting that you guys have come back to this point that you guys aren't really following any sort of trend that is around at the moment, which is quite nice.
Yeah, we've always been kind of just offsetting the trends. Maybe we're not either we were before the time or not very cool. But
I think that's what it is, that we're not very trendy.
No, we try and do what we like is a thing. We don't try and conform. We just do what we think.
What you guys do, especially being non-Americans, is hard to be genuine.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of the country kind of stuff come through and be very disingenuous. But I won't say it if I don't mean it. I saw you guys and I knew you weren't American.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it, and there was a sense of, and I think it's encapsulated in your lyrics of the song we mentioned, Music City, and I thought, well, that's why I wanted to get you on, and further down the line we'll talk. But I didn't get that from you. I certainly didn't get that kind of
Phoning it in.
Yeah.
Well, we try not to say.
And I tried. I mean that's. I don't mean to cause offence. That's just my interpretation.
We try not to write songs being like, "Oh, we're American," blah blah blah. We we write about that lifestyle, but not from our point of view, or trying to say, "Oh, this."
Yeah, we try not to put too many like cliches in. Oh. But I think with Americana songwriting, it's very close to kind of folk as well, which has, some strong influences. Being in Wales, there's a lot of folk songs, and we kind of like to do the story side of things. So yeah, so it's not like we're going, oh yeah, we live on a ranch in America and everything's great. We
But at
kind
the
of,
same time,
yeah.
that all that evolved from Irish and Welsh folk songs.
Yeah.
So in a way, in a roundabout way, someone's claiming it back.
Yeah,
Would you?
it's all trickled down over there, isn't
Yeah,
it? So-
absolutely. Well, then you get bands who are maybe, heavy in terms of like a grunge sound or a stoner rock sound. You could easily put that argument to them. Well, you're trying to be from Palm Desert or you're trying to be from Seattle.
Yeah.
It's a very good point.
It's easily, but I think because of the sound of the Americana thing and the title itself, I think that's why it's easy to attack as opposed to the point I mean.
But the bottom line is you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I know it's very popular to bash on America, and it has ever since the second Bush came into office, right? And it's still kind of with us now, and every sort of now and again it's like, oh, it's okay to like America. Now it's not okay because Trump's in office. Oh, damn America. Oh, America, America, America. But if you, like going back to the Beatles thing, if you remove American culture, and that goes from white American culture, black American culture, Latino American culture, and every other shade of American culture,
We have no culture.
you wouldn't, because it has been such a huge, and continues to be,
And I
such
was
a
out
huge
there
influence.
during the Bush era, the second Bush W, but this was the best time of my life. And the vast majority of people I've heard slag it off. I said, I've never been there. I don't know any Americans.
While they're sitting in their pair of Converses, which were made in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Going,
Listening to their American pop music.
Listening to the Fleet Foxes, who are great as well.
Taylor
But
Swift.
no, I like the Fleet Foxes. I'll retract that. I think the second album was absolutely fantastic. Wasn't really fussed on the third, but that's just me. So, Helplessness
listen to
Blues.
them. I can't
I think they're brilliant, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, it's you can't really. And this is that sort of thing. Joe Rogan mentioned it on his podcast. It's what America does well is the to use another American colloquialism, cuisine colloquialism, 2 C's, the jambalaya, the sort of melting pot of throwing everything in, the adaptation of all these different sort of cultural references and then serving it up, and it's something completely new. It has a new spice, a new twist on it. Because if you were, let's just say you were to be diehard purists about where you came from in your music, you know, you would, okay, say for example, you came from the home counties and you're sort of, and it was like with a lute, you know what I mean? It would just be like, what? This is ridiculous.
Not relevant.
Hey, nonny, no.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it would be equally as
daft. Yeah.
yeah. But I think that's something that stops a lot of artists, and you know, you kind of got to get out of your own wake. You got to get away from yourself. It is this very fluid thing, transatlantically between the UK, and it
bounces back and forth.
Yeah, of course it does.
It's like, would you get 3? There you have that. Then from that you have Lonnie Donegan.
What was the genre that Lonnie Donegan did?
Skiffle.
That's it. That was the thing I wanted to say earlier. Skiffle. Okay. Skiffle, because that's what I think is the British equivalent of country.
Yeah,
a little bit is skiffle. Okay, sorry, go on. Sorry, you're saying.
No, yeah, it bounces back and forth. One thing develops into another. You get would you get 3? You get then over here you get Lonnie Donegan. From that, then you get the Beatles and back and forth. Then really,
and then obviously as well, you've seen Lonnie Donegan and the Beatles and Dylan. One of my favorite bands, The Clash, before Joe Strummer was in The Clash and the forerunners of, not the forerunners, but one of the big, some people will complain about this, one person in particular saying, I hate The Clash, that I know, who's a very close friend of mine, but he was in the Elgin 101ers, who were sort of like this sort of folk-inspired Dylan-esque sort of thing, but it is very fluid, which is what I like. But I've said it before on the podcast, and I'll say it again and go on record. I don't like the American bashing. I really don't. I'll put my cards on the table. I don't think it serves any purpose. I think it's a very easy target. And another thing I've noticed with some comedy, and Chris might back me up on this, it's like the easiest mainstay at the moment, where it be over this side of the Atlantic or the other side of the Atlantic, to just get up on stage like it was during the Bush era and go, Trump. Trumpity Trump. You know what I mean? It's like, it is the smallest microcosm of the culture, and then someone will obviously sort of shout back at me, but hang on, Simon, he's the president of the United States. Yeah, I understand that, but there's a lot more to dissect from it. Iqbal, I feel like you want to say something here.
No, I mean, I think you make some good points there, mate. I suppose the difference is that over here we are critical, aren't we? We are critical of what happened. Like it's basically it's the foreign policy side of things, the American foreign policy side of things, what we have difficulty with. But culturally, musically, art-wise, we lap it up. We love America for the influence that they've got culturally. So it's a difficult one because we want to embrace a lot of the arts and the writers and the poets. I mean, one of my sort of favorite poets is Allen Ginsberg. The whole beat movement, Ferlinghetti, and all these kind of guys, William S. Burroughs. They've got such a huge influence for me, but I'll still be critical of the political side of stuff.
Yeah,
but there are two different aspects to it.
You're grounded in that, though, but because you obviously haven't run into the people that Chris and I run into, because I've run into people who will go on the offensive because of... I've had it in the pub. I've had it in the pub where I've been saying, you look like you've just come off Ice Road Truckers. But I do. And that's fine. And I
ironic because you can't even drive.
No, I know, I can't even drive. And the jacket I bought last week has got Illinois emblazoned over. I look like an American tourist. It's fantastic.
But anyway, one thing we're talking about the American poets and stuff. Earlier, Dewi, you said that you do the lyrics first and you have a story. Do you have any influence in terms of how you write your lyrics, in terms of structure or maybe a singer-songwriter that the way they phrase things you take influence from when you write the lyrics?
Not really, no. Structure-wise, it's all relatively standard. First chorus.
Yeah.
Because they say in country, don't bore us, get us to the chorus. So like we try and keep people interested in it.
Well, I've never heard that. That's a lot of country.
Yeah, don't bore us, get to the
I've never heard
choruses.
that. Okay.
So you want to get people hooked from the start. So like structure-wise, it's kind of the same. And lyrically, structure-wise, I don't feel like I really take influence from anyone.
So you
I
do a lot of research into your topic, though. If you talk about the Oregon Trail and whatnot. What other aspects of American history or have you taken from before?
Well, I've written a song recently about New Orleans and the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of research about that and like the French history from there and what they drink, like local places there, and try to develop that into the song. Then talk about like Southern Comfort. It's called like Southern Comfort Dream, and
we've all heard of that.
yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, New Orleans. I mean, you, Chris. I'm addressing this to you. You're very fond of all the genres that came, or the bands that came out of that specific genre. New Orleans within itself, historically, was one of the few places in North America where Creole, as in Black Americans of certain. I'm going to probably get this wrong. Black Americans were actually treated fairly and equally, and
Creole though is not black.
Sorry, I'll start that again. I'll edit that out.
They were people of mixed race.
People of mixed race.
Yeah.
They were venerated more than the other states, and New Orleans has always had that sort of slightly wonky's the wrong word. It's almost a middle finger or two fingers up to the rest of the US. It's almost like a little republic within itself. I mean, what do you take from that? Do you think anything on that?
Yeah, I know people from there, and they will say my own experience is that you can go to any city in America and feel that you're in America, and cities are vastly different. New York is vastly different to Denver, which is different to LA, but New Orleans is so there's this massive European feeling architecture. It has a massive Tahitian voodoo influence on it, and it's a beautifully strange place. It can be a dangerous place, but everyone has to experience it, though.
But I mean, that's the beauty of the United States. It is a patchwork quilt of different sort of parts of Europe and different parts of the world, sort of all coming together. I mean, because like so the Irish, the strong Irish influence in places like Boston and the state of
Yeah, yeah,
Massachusetts, and then obviously you go climate-wise, places like the northeastern seaboard has a closer climate to us, where
Yeah.
it just rains
I was
all the
surprised-
time.
I was surprised the influence of the Welsh in Colorado when I first went up there.
Okay, expand on that.
That was so Colorado's a heavy mining town, not necessarily coal, but a state. Sorry, not necessarily coal, but mining in general. And there's a lot of Welsh influence out there. And there's a place called Breckenridge, for example, and stuff. But they changed. They added a K.
Had to.
So had to, no copyright. Yeah, Breckenridge, and there's a lot of like Jones and Williams out there, and
I suppose they got them for their expertise. And
exactly. So yeah, and when after the Civil War, what have you, people moved out the west, the great frontier, and found the place, like you say, with their expertise. But yeah, one of the first things when I first landed there, it was like this Breckenridge, and okay, it's not Wales, but like Avon, where I was, and that's like right next door. There's a lot of that kind of feeling. That
Well, we've mentioned it on the podcast before. You have Bethesda. You also have Bangor, Maine. There's Swanseas and there's Cardiffs over there as well. So it is interesting. And again, I mean, it goes back to this. We'd be doing a massive disservice to sort of throw the baby out the bathwater, to sort of rail against it in any shape, form, way. But the New Orleans thing, I am very interested in. That's somewhere I've never really thought about going if I was going to go to the States.
you should go there first, especially for you and the music. Have you guys been there?
I haven't been there, but like through my research, I read a lot about it. I came across to write about it from watching a live video of a band on horseback being dragged by a carriage going through the streets of New Orleans. And I thought, that's a beautiful place. So I thought, I'll have
It's
a
bizarre.
bit of research on that. And then song.
It's a bizarre
Yeah, it looks amazing. It's just like you said, it could be a dangerous place, but it looks welcoming as well. It's very in some places.
Yeah, in some places, just don't go around the back streets.
No.
That's what I was told. No, I mean, I recommend it. I mean, literally, about 3 weeks ago, my parents just came back from there. They landed the day the Hard Rock Cafe collapsed, so that was their welcome to New Orleans. But no, it's you should go out there. You should go out there. And but you've been to Nashville, though.
Been to Nashville, yeah, and we're heading back to the stateside now. Next year.
Was that a pilgrimage for Nashville for you guys?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, we went for the Country Music Festival, Country Music Association Festival. So it was a lot of big bands.
I bet that was slamming.
It was.
That was brilliant.
It was basically that every big kind of
Anyone
country
who's anyone,
artist that you could think of was there in some shape or form. Yeah,
And we had a great time. It
was amazing.
Did you guys actually play at all during the festival in any capacity?
not in the festival, but we played a couple of back rooms, and yeah, like I said earlier, we played recorded in the Ryman. That was quite cool. They got a little studio there. We recorded Music City there, which was kind of
That
like
was awesome.
That was quite cool. Yeah.
You recorded it.
Yeah. So that was quite cool. But yeah, next year heading, spending 3 weeks going down the west coast, starting like Vancouver area in Canada for the wedding, and then coming down.
Oh, hang on.
Vancouver?
Your brother's wedding.
Yeah.
My brother's wedding, yeah.
In Vancouver?
It's outside of Vancouver. I can't remember the name. It's just something camp, but the I can't remember. It's quite a native, like
Inuit.
name.
Is it Inuit? I think in Canada.
Not Kelowna.
I can't remember. No, it's a religious one. They're not religious in any shape or form, but there aren't owns it. So it's just on a lake. It is. So it's going to be amazing.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah. My best friend lives in Kelowna, just outside Vancouver. It's
Yeah. His fiance's from Penticton. It is. So it's
okay. Yeah,
around there.
nice.
Where is your Lone Pine Mall hat?
It's in the house. I bought a bobble hat with me today.
Yeah, I was really disappointed you didn't
Sorry.
tell me that hat. Because that's the best
I got a
hat
selection
ever. So,
hat.
yeah, that's the best
He's
hat.
got so many hats.
How-
A Nashville Predators hat, though. So, there's worse out there.
Yeah,
isn't
it is. Yes, yeah. So, yeah. So
How
Are
much
they
did
your
you...
NHL team? Sorry, man.
Go on.
Are they your NHL team?
Nashville Predators. Yeah,
Are
yeah.
they?
British team is Cardiff Devils, but yeah.
Cool.
So they're my Devils are my first team, and then NHL is Predators. And yeah.
Okay.
I like the New Jersey Devils. That's just me.
Bottom of the league.
I don't care. I watch more baseball these days anyway, so that which I haven't decided to affiliate myself with a team. yet, as of yet. But that hat,
Yeah.
right? Can you? Where did you get that from? Because it was because I had this really long, in-depth conversation with you.
Lucky Seven Hats is called.
Give them a plug.
Yeah.
So-
If they're going to give me free hats.
I hope so.
When we played the Long Road Festival last year, they had a stall there, and it was amazing.
It was done in an old camper van. Like they
What
kitted
festival?
out.
Sorry, what was that?
It was the Long Road Festival, which
Where's
is
that?
like an Americana festival. It was in
Lutterworth, was it?
Lutterworth,
I
yeah.
was going to say Lucker then. I was saying, what?
What?
Hang on a minute. Hang on, whoa.
But they had like really good bands playing there. They had like the Wood Brothers were playing there. They were really good. They had Carrie Underwood to play, but she had problems with her pregnancy, so she had to pull out.
She had to pull out. But
What else did they have? Oh, yeah, so like Sam Outlaw. They had the Ward Thomas, British side, and the Shires from the British side of it.
Ferris and Sylvester,
Ferris
who
Sylvester.
played Swansea the other week,
Yeah.
who
I
was
have
really
to
good.
rediscover my country gig going because I haven't been for ages, and if this stuff's going on the doorstep, I need to go.
Do you guys know the Punch Brothers at all?
Love them.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
love
I
them,
do as well. Yeah, yeah.
We went to see them a couple of years
Isn't he
ago.
like a state champion mandolin player or something? Like,
Chris Stiley is amazing at
Yeah,
mandolin, and we went to see them in London. I'd say about 2 years ago when their most recent album come out, and I gotta say, note for note, it was perfect. They played around a single mic, all gig, and it was note for note, and it was spot on.
Because the frightening thing is because I'm from a metalist perspective and playing as fast as possible. When I first heard the Punch Brothers, I was like, he's going that fast on the mandolin. Are you kidding me? So yeah, they're a fantastic band. So there are some really.
I reckon they're like the country artists, like mandolin players and all that, especially like the players that like Hank Williams III and whatnot gets in. They'll outpick any death metal guitarist going.
Or
Speed, thrash, black metal.
There's a lot of
whatever,
underrated
grindcore.
musicians out there.
Totally, man.
And they say like, if you go out there and you think you're amazing,
Forget it.
There's going to be 100 people in front of you.
Well, it's an industry, isn't it, in places
Yeah,
like Nashville? Do you like Steve Earle at all in any shape, form, or way?
Yeah. We had to learn a couple of his, didn't we? For
More you like Copperhead Road, something like that, or
what ones did we learn? That was years ago now,
Years
mind.
ago,
Yeah. Because I think someone liked him and said, "Oh, can you play a couple of songs?" But like an event or something like that.
will you ever do a Townes Van Zandt track?
If anyone asked me politely, yeah.
I am asking because he's I find I don't know if there's always your one in a country that breaks your heart, and Townes is the one that just completely broke my heart when I was listening to him. It was just something else. I came very late to the party with Townes. I mean, I kind of knew about him because of the last name being so strange.
Yeah.
Sticking out, but it was only about 3 or 4 years ago that I went, okay, I
In depth.
really get this now. And starting to really, it was Pancho and Lefty was the first one that sort of did it for me.
What are your main influences in? I know you mentioned the band and stuff, but as a collective, as Little Folk as a collective, what are your main kind of musical influences?
A musical, highly, I would say would be the Yvette Brothers, the Yvette Brothers.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
totally. Yeah.
Them, we get, and in some forms, Punch Brothers as well, because I've been listening to them for a good number of years now. I just wish I was as good as them.
They're
But I don't-
fantastic.
Spell 20 at a time. I mean, if your lovely partner will allow you to play as much as you want, then I'm sure you can
Yeah.
get there with the practice.
who else would you say?
The Yvette Brothers are a really big influence on us.
I would say they were our biggest influences musically.
Is there a genre outside of what you guys listen to that is an influence which would surprise people? Like, it's like, you come home, Lucy, and like Dewi's there sitting listening to Megadeth or something. Like, what is it? Well, hang on, whoa, yeah.
There is a singer that I like that Lucy doesn't like.
Okay.
But I would say he's not country, but he's bordering on the...
What's his name?
It's Gavin DeGraw.
I've seen the name.
He's a good singer.
I don't think that's out of the ordinary, though.
No. I like
What was his name?
Gavin DeGraw.
Right.
I'm just trying to think. I like some like pop country.
Okay.
Like
It doesn't really border.
That's part of country, so I don't know.
What's pop country? For the uninitiated, what is pop country? Who don't know?
Well,
Tammy Wynette? Oh, no.
no.
Okay.
Carrie Underwood.
Yeah, Carrie Underwood, people
Maddie
like
and
that.
Tay.
Maddie and Tay, definitely.
Yeah.
Shania Twain.
Who's
Shania
your
Twain,
favourite? Yeah, Shania Twain's your favourite, isn't it?
I love Shania Twain. But that's like, I suppose it's not that different. Well, it is. But country and Americana kind of go together. But the pop country is, quite cheesy. Yeah. And I do like a bit of cheesy
Did you watch
pop.
that program, Nashville?
Yeah.
I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Oh, I loved it.
Okay.
It's a proper
Okay.
guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, as a musician, were there moments in it that you were getting frustrated at? You going, that's not right, that's not right, that's historically inaccurate, that's
Yeah,
incorrect.
Nothing's ever that easy.
No.
Can't just walk into a bar. Oh my God, you're the
Signed.
best thing ever. Get signed, yeah. 5-album deal, no problem.
Yeah, there's a scene in it where this girl and guy get up and they sing for the first time ever together. And they get up, and it's in the Bluebird Cafe, so that wouldn't happen for a start.
Yeah.
And then there's literally like a guy sitting in the audience, and he phones his friend at a record company, and he's like, "Oh, I found who you're looking for."
Back to the Future.
Yeah,
moments.
it's like Back to the Future, yeah.
Are they perfectly in sync as well?
Oh, they're
course
perfect.
they
They're
are.
fantastic, and they're amazing.
Hey,
and
Chuck, it's your brother Marvin.
Marvin Berry.
and
I'm
it's
glad you got that. Sorry, Lucy. Sorry.
no, it's literally like that, and you just think, oh, imagine if that did happen, though. That would be so good, wouldn't it?
Imagine happened in the Uplands Tab.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Di, yeah, it's your brother, Steve. Yeah, you still own Mumbles Records. You need to listen to these boys. They're fantastic. Throws the phone.
It's more like, Di, I found a band for your wedding, boy.
No, it's your brother. No, Mum's fine. No, the other brother. Yes. No, I'll be back at 5:30. No, it's Beaujolais Day today. Oh, did you? And the band's gone.
Yeah.
Speaking
I've forgotten.
Speaking of which, you're not doing anything for Beaujolais Day. Please tell me. You're not.
No.
Good.
We
Be
played
more
it.
sensible than that.
No, we played it once.
Yeah.
Never again.
I chipped my toe.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I can't stand the day.
No.
I'm going to go on
I
record.
chipped my toes watching Slayer live. I've not chipped my toes on a Beaujolais day.
Sorry, go on, Lucy.
We were playing, and it got a bit rowdy, and somebody knocked the mic into my face.
Iqbal gave me a
my toe.
look then as to say, what are you talking about? You know what Beaujolais...
I didn't really understand the slant against Beaujolais Day. I mean,
You're not a fan,
well,
are you?
I mean, no, I'm not doing it. But yeah,
It's not a slant. It's just that
It's not a very nice wine.
it's not a very nice day.
No.
And I don't understand.
Only
that-
Swansea do it.
Yeah.
I know.
And people flock here.
And no one drinks Beaujolais.
It's horrible.
Isn't it the first of the wine? I mean, this is quite
Yeah.
current. Obviously, this will go after Beaujolais Day. But it's the first of the batch, which is then released, and it's cheap and it's knocked down. It's just
And that's why Swansea do it.
Yeah.
Because it's cheap.
you might as well be drinking Buckfast, Buckoo.
You might as well be drinking Sarson's vinegar.
I've seen it and I found it highly intimidating because I like my bars to be somewhere where I can go in and have a quiet drink and just relax, and there's a nice choice of whiskies. Yeah. And my ideal, this is an ode to America, which I'll be writing the poem and getting Iqbal to perform it. The best night I ever had in my life, and this is the bar thing. This is why I don't like Beaujolais. There is a slant on this. My local bar up in Newton, when it was open the Rock and Fountain, I went in and there was a baseball game on in there, and I just sat down and I got myself a whiskey and I sat there and I watched the baseball game. It was one of the best nights of my life, and people were coming in, can you just leave me alone? I'm watching the game. And I got ribbed for it because I was like trying to tell my friends, I had the best night. What did you sat there? I just sat there and I watched the game. Oh, you watched the game, man. Yeah, but it was, you don't understand because you get drawn into a game of baseball.
Drinking Johnny Walker.
It wasn't Johnny Walker Red. It was Jack Daniels because they didn't have anything else in terms of decent bourbon. But what I was going to say is, Beaujolais Day, you played it once. That's a very strange.
Where did you play?
Peppermint, yeah.
Is that even still going, Peppermint?
Well, what is peppermint?
It's a
bar
club.
club
It's awful. That's
with a
what it is
marble
now.
floor, and when it gets wet, it's vicious. Yeah.
Oh, it's on Wine Street, yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
you said it was on Wine Street.
Yeah.
Oh.
That place is intimidating. How do you? I mean, do you guys ever go out there anymore at all?
We don't go out.
No.
No,
no,
other than
brilliant.
gigs, we
It's horrific.
yeah. I'm I haven't got the stomach for it anymore.
Because can I ask you guys don't drink at all? Or?
No,
not at all.
That's why I'm on the.
No, that's
ginger
fine.
beer.
No, that's fine. So you're far more lucid. You're gonna have probably a much brighter career than most.
No headaches in the
No
morning.
headaches in the
Bright
morning.
future.
A bright future career than most. But so yeah, that must have been a bit of a strange one to be playing such an alcohol heavy one. To be like, just sort of in the room going, okay, yeah.
Anywhere is nowadays. I would think, isn't it? Alcohol heavy when you're playing a gig.
Do you get people coming asking for Sweet Home Alabama and stuff like that?
Every now and again, we
Yeah.
get that Wagon Wheel. Ironically, Wonderwall.
Yeah.
You play the stuff you do, and someone's come up to you and go, "Can you play Wonderwall?"
Yeah.
It happens to
I
everyone.
would have stabbed them in the eye.
We've had Ed Sheeran and
Someone asked
Oh,
us. Someone asked us.
no.
Did ask us to play Galway Girl. But we didn't play the Ed Sheeran version.
yeah.
I don't. Go on.
But you guys do covers though, don't you?
We used to predominantly, before we set out doing originals, we did to earn a bit of money do covers, and if it's a long set or if people are asking for it, we gauge the audience.
So are any of your songs on your album going to be sort of covers in any?
No.
No.
Because I thought I saw a song at Spanish Pipe Dream.
Oh, we did a video of that.
John
yeah.
Prine, isn't
John
it?
Prine, yeah.
So, it was just a video then? Was
Just
it
a video, yeah.
Right, okay.
That was one of the first covers we did. Weirdly, it's like,
That's one thing I really, really, really enjoyed about your band. It was all original,
yeah.
and I totally loved that.
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out there. But there was no covers because, I do listen to a lot of country,
Yeah.
Americana, bluesgrass, blah blah blah. And I was waiting for a cover, and there wasn't one, and it was bloody beautiful.
We could probably play an hour 50 minutes of originals.
And that's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
After
Because
3
he's-
years, that's good.
Yeah, because I see so many, or I've seen so many bands in a similar style that just rack up the covers.
Yeah.
And it was so refreshing, I got to be honest, so refreshing not to see a cover.
Am I right in thinking as well that you guys have had some exposure on BBC Radio Wales, or am I making that up?
Yeah, no, we have. Yeah, we've been on the BBC Introducing.
Beth and Elvin plays us quite a bit.
quite regularly on there. Beth and Elvin. She does the BBC Introducing for the BBC Wales. Adam Walton's played us a couple. Adam Walton's played us a couple of times. Oh, we've been on the Jamie Owen show. I don't think that's going anymore.
Wasn't that a Sunday morning
That
thing?
was Sunday
Yeah,
morning,
that was
yeah.
really good. Quite a few people from Swansea have been played in that. I think.
Bayless.
Joe Bayless. is it?
He's been on there once or twice.
Yeah. And that was quite fun though. I enjoyed
Yeah,
that one.
that used to be a nice song. Also, we did when the air show came to town. We did the live session from
More Joe
there.
Bayless interference.
Yeah.
We've got to thank Joe for a lot.
The dark hand of Joe Bayless, all the way from the lawns.
But we've had some dealings with Bob Harris from BBC Radio 2 as well, which has been quite good.
That's
Whispering
really
Bob
good.
Harris.
Whispering Bob, yeah.
Brilliant.
So was that on the back of Orange Circus? Because we have to promote that, because that's coming up. When's that coming up?
That's coming on the 13th of December in the garage.
So you are supporting.
Orange Circus Band.
What time is the whole thing kicking off?
Oh, good question. I would say get there early.
Get there early.
Yeah, 7:30 doors probably.
Because we have a mutual friend, obviously Ed Purcell, because Ed's now the bass player.
Ed in the
and
Shed.
Ed's in the Shed, yes, very good friend of mine.
I'll come down to that.
So, yeah, is it just you two guys doing?
No, it's the Little Folk in general. So it'll be me, Lucy and Alan.
No, I meant as in the
as in
lineup.
the band,
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, just the two of us.
What date was it, sorry?
13th of December, which is a Friday.
That's quite an interesting thing just to have the two acts there, because I mean 3 is almost like the perfect number with that, but 2, I mean, if you guys have got an hour, they're letting you have that hour and a half to just go through it. Or?
We haven't had specifics yet, but we have been talking, and we're hoping like they can jump up for a couple of hours.
Yeah,
to
I think we're going to try and do a couple of collaborations
with them on the
Yeah.
day as well, and they've going to play a couple of mandolin songs on
like
mandolin.
an Allman Brothers sort of
Yeah.
like Allman Family sort of thing.
After
kicking
learn
off.
Rambling Man.
Yeah, could you do that on that? Could you?
Rambling Man as in...
Allman Brothers.
Not Hank Williams is Rambling.
No, yeah.
No, I was born. I can't sing it because if I sing it, then they'll be in breach of copyright. But on that Gibson, that's going to be tough because you're up past the 12th and there ain't got no cutaway on your baby over there.
Have to
I'll
bring my
lend you a
faith out.
Telecaster, I don't worry. From Psychon Music, 221 Oxford Street,
Above Derek's.
above Derek's Music. All welcome for coffee and bants. So that's coming up. Is there anything else before that though? Because you guys are always busy.
Yeah, well, this week we've got thing we're looking forward to is a Johnny Cash. We're doing a Johnny Cash tribute night.
Where's that?
That's in the Duke in Neath.
Oh, with Tony.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're doing a memorial for someone there, and his favourite band was he liked punk music, and his favourite musician was Johnny Cash.
Now, how hard was that to go? I mean, okay, first things first. How many tracks are you doing for that?
9.
What ones are they?
That's the answer.
It is Falls of Prison Blues, Jackson, I Walk the Line, Ghost Riders in the Sky. What else are we doing? Sugar.
I can't remember, It Ain't Me, Babe.
It Ain't Me, Babe, that she did with June.
June Carter.
Ring of Fire.
Ring of Fire, yes. Can't forget that one.
What's the one?
I can't remember the one.
Times Are Wasting we're doing as well. So it's
Didn't I hear you tinkering with Hurt as well?
Oh, Hurt as well,
just as you came in earlier.
Which is not a Johnny Cash song.
No, it's Nine Inch Nails, isn't
Nine
it?
Inch Nails.
Yeah, but that's one of those curious.
As is Rusty Cage's a Soundgarden song,
That's
not a
what-
Johnny Cash song.
That's one of those curious moments in popular culture with a song that the original artist is eclipsed perhaps by the cover, and the other one, to tie it back into Swansea very neatly, is Badfinger with Can't Live If Living Is Without You, originally written by John Hamm. Peter Ham, not John Hamm, who was his brother under guitar still. So that song is steeped in tragedy itself because it became one of the most biggest selling pop standards of all time, covered by Mariah Carey, so on and so forth. And unfortunately, you didn't get to see any of that. But that's an instance of, sorry, Iqbal looking at me like that. What? Sometimes of the song sort of eclipsing it. But that's, how hard was that to choose those Cash? Because I mean, that's a big catalogue to go through.
Yeah, 'cause we only had like 30, 40 minutes. We did Jackson and Folsom Prison Blues anyway. We've always got them in our back pocket. And then it was just a matter, I listened to a lot of Johnny Cash anyway. I was trying to think of what people would want to hear.
Cocaine Blues.
Yeah. Just trying to think of
Boy Named Sue.
I was playing that but before I came here tonight. Yeah, it's quite easy. It's A-D. and E. So we just like trying to think of the best of, let's say, that more mainstream that of his. That
Maybe you should do for the gig, if you can do a collaboration for the Orange Circus gig, maybe you should do the Highwayman, and you could take on different parts, because that's there's an idea there.
Yeah. Have you heard of Highwaymen? The Highwaymen?
No, I haven't.
The Highwaymen are
They're
fantastic.
They're fantastic. It's a take on the Highwaymen.
Yeah.
Highwaymen. And they're all originals. A couple of covers. I think
They do the chain,
but original songs. They got Yola Carter on there as well, and I would recommend it. It's a good one.
Well, I will listen to that, but I'm only going to come to your gig if I can hear you go at the end. I fly a starship across the universe. I can't keep that in the podcast just for
I'm forgotten.
Yeah.
I gotta get in. I'm Johnny Cash.
What's your last name? Bevan, isn't it?
Bowen. Yeah.
You can come on. Hi, I'm Bowen.
The thing is, he does sing quite low, so I've had to kind of lower my register for it.
Yeah, because you're kind of a mid-range.
Yeah.
You know,
So he's all quite down there, and it works.
So you were really excited about this sort of gig then with Orange Circus?
Yeah, 100. Yeah, it should be good fun because we
it's just you two playing?
just us two. Yeah.
We should also mention that we did try in the first couple of weeks to get Orange Circus on, and it's just something that we were hoping. Well, Iqbal, you can fill.
Well, it was just a clash of dates, and we had to rearrange. But we will be getting them on again, Lydia and Cisco.
That would be interesting. I mean, maybe we should set ourselves a target. Target before the gig, because then.
Well, unfortunately, I've spoken to her a few times since, and kept saying,
I'll ring you.
And you know how disorganised I am.
We're all very
so it's
disorganised.
really my fault.
No,
but
surely not.
we're super keen to get them on.
I'll be seeing them next week, so
This is
I'll
call to
mention
arms
it.
now.
Yeah.
Come on.
So let's go back to when is the album stroke EP?
It's going to be coming out next year. It's mixing at the moment, so we're looking at. We'd want to release it too early in the year. We want it to build up for the summer and festivals and stuff like that. So we're looking for probably an April release.
Who's doing artwork for it?
Haven't decided yet. Actually, we have. For the first single. Sorry, do you want to say?
Oh yeah, we sing Caddy from Holy Home Video. So she's a great artist, and she's been designing something for us. We've seen a like a rough version of it, and it looks really good. So
this is for
Holy
the-
Home Video, who's that?
Local duet from Swansea.
Oh, right.
Sam Baggett.
Yes,
And
yes.
Caddy.
They
Yeah.
are. You said for a single though.
Yeah,
That's
so we're
the
going to do a single before the release
Yeah,
of the EP.
but for the album, is she going to do the album as well?
Probably.
Possibly.
Yeah, because I would
Well-
like to tie in the artworks.
because I don't think we're going to use a picture, are we? We'll use a drawing, I think.
What was that volume 1? The one you gave me?
That's my father took that picture of a vulture. Yeah.
That's a wicked cover.
Yeah.
That's a wicked cover.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He's proud of that picture. I'll nick
You
it.
should be. It's a wicked cover. It's a wicked cover.
We've used like for some of our singles, Joe Bayless again did.
What, you've actually used the picture of Joe Bayless?
No,
yeah, it
Little
was just-
folk and just
it was
Joe's
Joe
hat,
Bayless.
beard, hat. Yeah, go on.
With his curls.
Yeah, his curls.
No, he's a fantastic artist, and he drew a picture for us of the
Don't
big
say
bad
himself.
wolf.
No,
No,
no, big-
it was the big bad wolf coming out of some books, and like, yeah, it was a really nice piece of artwork.
Curious you mentioned that. I spoke to Joe before the Fringe Festival because we're in the. Did the Fringe take a lot out of you? Because it took a hell of a lot out of me.
More my brother because he was doing the sound in the bunkhouse for 3 nights on the trot.
Because I did the.
Does he do the sound there? Does he?
Not only for that. He's a sound engineer, but they didn't have anyone for the festival,
So he did the sound in the bunkhouse for the festival.
for the Fringe Festival. Yeah.
Oh, because some of the boys I know played there, and they said the sound was great.
Yeah.
Street Blacks and all them played
Yeah.
there, and they said the sound was
What's your brother's name so we can plug him?
It's Alan Bowen.
Alan Bowen.
Yeah. So
Of the Bowen clan.
yeah.
You have to book him.
He's got a master's in it.
Oh.
And he managed a stage on like big P&O cruises, celebrity cruises. He managed the what would you call that? The theatre in there, the sound in there. So he knows his stuff.
So
Yeah.
I was wiped out after, and it's only now I'm feeling like I know it sounds crazy. I know, but yeah, no, because we were all together at the opening. Did you do anything else after that?
Yeah, so we did the opening of the Bramwell Hall. Day after, Joe rang me and said, "Can you get down here in 15 minutes?"
No, it's more. Oh, hi, Dewi. How are you? I don't suppose. Yeah. So can you get down here in 15 minutes? Yeah.
Because I live just up the road. I was like, yeah. So I played for like 2 hours that night. And then that was the Friday night. And then the Saturday night we played
in Elysium Bar.
Yeah.
So we played Folk at the Fringe. So
That was a sold
there
out
was-
one.
That's another connection to the podcast because Alfie Scheinman was on episode number 10, I think. Was Alfie? Was that?
Yeah, number 10.
Was Alfie there with you at all at that point? Because he's doing stuff with the Elysium Bar as well.
It was quite busy at that
Yeah,
night,
yeah.
and because we were bouncing back and forth. With, what was that? I think we played
Yeah, it was us.
Orange. Lost Users Society and Rag
Rag
Foundation.
Foundation.
Yeah,
Yes.
Alfie would have been there because Lost
Users
Users Society.
Society.
Him with the flute.
Yes.
The stargazer, wherever he may be. I still got to get him some equipment because I did promise him on the podcast and I put it aside. So yeah, this year's Fringe, it was number 3, wasn't it? It's the 3rd year running.
Yeah. So we've been involved with
Every year now.
Yeah. First year we did. Is that the year we did the filming?
No, last year.
No, we did do filming. We set up a set in the Elysium, the art studios. They got like booths, haven't they? Is that Elysium?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
art studio,
Yeah,
though.
it is.
So we
Yeah.
set up a music studio, a recording studio / film studio in there. So we made a set and recorded dozen bands, live videos and stuff like that. We had quite a lot of local ones on there. Larry Harrod was on there. Rag Foundation did that as well. And then the year after, last year, we were in Unit 19, which is now a beer keller.
Larry's been in. Didn't she go to Italy quite recently?
Yeah, last 2 weeks ago, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because she came and said, "Oh, hi, I'm just getting some strings. Where are you off? Italy, bye." And that was it. It's like, okay.
They don't have them there.
Yeah, don't have any strings in. You know, it's a sort of how, what? So I haven't spoken to her sort of since she's got back. I mean, she's obviously back since then. So, I mean, apart from this sort of Barnstormer of a gig, which ties into Whispering Bob Harris, which you're having up at the garage, are you going to be doing anything else over Christmas apart from having fun, food, family, and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I'm going to do a plug now.
Go do your plug, please.
We're releasing a Christmas single, but it's with a twist. It's original. and it's to raise money for charity for Matthew's house. It's called Matthew's House, which is a Matt's Cafe, if anyone's heard of it.
Yeah.
It does a lot with the homeless of the people in Swansea, and especially with women as well. It's got like washing facilities, laundry facilities for the homeless. It's the cafe there. It's all run on volunteers. They use food that's not sold like at supermarkets and such that would be otherwise thrown out. So they cook that, and it's basically like a pay what you.
Are you connected to that somehow, or
well, we've been speaking we did a bit of research to see what charity and what one would maybe benefit more, or like what one we thought we had more connection with.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided with that. Then it's like local, and it's all run on volunteers. They don't get any like paid help. Like they don't pay any. Like it's all volunteers, and they got about 90 volunteers now, which is quite good. And so we thought that's a good charity to support.
So it's a single coming out in conjunction for that?
Yes, so we're hoping, so that should be released on the 1st of December, and we're going to be raising money through Just Giving.
Do we have a title for it?
It's called Christmas is Here. I had to think of something snappy and Christmassy, because I did have other titles, but Christmas had to be in the title. And and speaking of artwork, we're using a local artist for that as well. Tony Pulton as well has agreed to donate one of his artworks for the cover as well.
Oh, cool.
And we've actually recorded with a couple of different musicians from Swansea. So again, Holy Home Video that we were speaking about earlier. They've come in and done some backing vocals with us
And some
a
guitar.
bit of guitar.
Where did you record it?
At James Weaver Studios. He lives up at the Mumbles. Langland. There we go. And he did a cracking job of it. Fair play. And like you said, we had Holy Home Video singing guitar in it. Our friend Kyle is on lap steel, and we're hoping to get Lydia from the Orange Circus band to do some banjo on it as well.
Cool.
So you're getting that, again, an Allman Brothers sort of feel to it, sort of thing, like the whole collaborative thing. There was something that popped in my mind, but then it's completely gone. You don't happen to know my drummer Craig, do you? Because he does quite a bit up at, I'm sure it's that cafe. He's the drummer in the Rusty Nuts. I'm sure he's got something. He's a volunteer there.
I'm not sure of Craig, no.
What's his surname?
What was his name?
What's his surname?
I can't remember. Craig's surname off the top of my
He's
head.
in my band.
He's in my band. If he's my drummer, I can't remember his surname.
Craig
but
drums.
Craig the drums. No, he's lovely.
So we got 2019. The death of is almost upon us. 2020's coming. What's that looking like for little folk?
Quite exciting, I would say.
We've got our EP to release.
EP release, like 4 tracks from that. Then hopefully a summer of festivals then. So we don't tend to do too much before the summer. It's mostly like preparing, really.
You guys put merch together, t-shirts and stuff? Or?
Yeah, we got t-shirts, CDs and stuff like that. That first CD that you've got, we've sold out 3 runs of that now. So we're not going to get another run of that.
No.
We're going to concentrate selling on the new one. And,
Wicked.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's always good to have something in the bag to sell at gigs. I
Always.
find like the CD, I don't think is, like we said earlier, hasn't died yet.
No, I'll always support it.
I think
I'll always support
everyone wants something physical at a gig, and it's good for bands to have something physical. Even if you give it away at gigs, is sometimes more beneficial.
I agree with that. I don't think hard copy has died. I think CD will come back. I do prefer CD to vinyl, and I don't care what anybody says. I think it's a better format.
I agree.
It's a way better format than vinyl. Vinyl sounds great. It's has a certain quality to it. Cassettes come back. We're going to wrap it up soon, but Folsom Prison, the album, you can't really just listen to that one track, can you? And then dip into it on random. It's a whole story. It's a whole thing of Johnny Cash going to the prison and performing there. It's a very iconic moment.
Absolutely.
It could be just one long track, as far as I'm concerned. Don't need to split it up or nothing like that. I got that one in the car, and I regularly listen to it in the car.
It's almost out of context. I mean, it's like there's no way that when The Wall by Pink Floyd was being put together that they were like, oh yeah, certainly we just listen to one song and then that's it.
Yeah.
It's fine. Or for example, one of my favourite musicians, which is probably going to surprise people, Gil Scott-Heron. You can't take one of Gil Scott-Heron's albums and just go, listen to that, it's fine. It's just enough. So I think there's always room to have it in its entirety and go back to it, and have the physical copy. Which do you guys have a Bandcamp or anything like that where people could
what's
actually?
your social media you want to promote?
We don't have Bandcamp. We got social media, so we're on like the Facebook, Instagram. So
How
like
do people find your?
if you just type in Little Folk into Facebook, I'll come up. But it's like /little Folk Band on there. On Instagram, it's /little Folk HQ. But if you just search us, we're on Spotify as well. iTunes. What else are we on? MySpace? No, we're not on MySpace anymore. But yeah, we're across the board. You can find us. Yeah,
Cool.
we got a website, but not much goes on.
So apart from December the 13th,
yes,
what else have you got coming up?
gig wise, I don't think we've got much coming up. It's just getting ready for this release now because we're going to be doing music videos as well for the release. We just did our Christmas music video in the Gower Christmas tree farm, in amongst all the.
Up at Three Crosses, I know that.
Yeah,
I know it well.
We're dealing with Rob up there, and he allowed us free of charge.
Who's filming them? Who's filming the videos?
Well, it's Alan, my older brother's fiance. She
does all that side of things.
She does all that side of things. She's dab hand at the camera.
She's brilliant.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
so we'll be doing. Well, we've done that video, so we'll be doing other videos, and we still haven't finished editing this EP yet. So a lot of that, and a lot of applying for festivals and sorting next year out.
Hopefully get in festivals.
Hopefully, yeah, we should do it. Like we had quite, as Little Folk, we've done the last 3 years. We've probably done nearing like 250 gigs.
Yeah.
So we try and we've not so much in the winters, but in the summers
we're
it's
a
just
very summery band. I think.
it's like 2 or 3 times a week we'll be out. And
Well, Dewi and Lucy, it's been an absolute pleasure.
thanks for having us.
Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
down.
Yes, so all that remains is to thank our guests tonight, Dewi and Lucy, as Chris has just pointed out. Also, thank you to Chris and Nick Powell for coming along, and thanks to the Dylan Thomas Birthplace for hosting episode 12 of the Sun Not podcast, winner of the Best Small Tourist Attraction 2019. There was one last thing. I can't remember. So anyway, in the time-old tradition, it's good night from me.
And it's good night for me.
Booyaka shack.
Ditto.
Good night.